Hey everybody, I hope you had a great week. ECBA 406 Lesson 1 recap, or Lesson 1 review as I'll call it, and Lesson 2 preview. Let's start a little bit on what you had in Lesson 1. In your first discussion, you had an introduction, and again, I find those very useful, and they're very helpful for me because it helps me find out a little bit about you so that whenever I give you responses to your discussions and your papers and things, I can apply them a little bit more to where you currently are and where you would like to go. So I appreciate those introductions. Also buried, if you will, in the Lesson 1 discussion was a discussion about learning organizations. This is really critical today because whenever I grew up in the consumer packaged goods industries, every organization out there had a very robust, every organization that was worth anything, had a very robust training department. And the training department was focused on a lot of personal building, stress management, those types of things, personal competency building, as well as skill building. But over the years, what's happened is training departments have shrunk. And in many instances, organizations today will outsource the majority, if not all, of their training functions to outside sources, some to electronic communication, simply as a means to kind of cost reduce the human resource product that's out there. And learning organizations are pretty rare, and so but today they have a lot of different varieties and a lot of different ways to gain those types of skills. And so I was interested in you pursuing those and taking a look at the value that are added, that can be added to companies, to the people who work in them in learning organizations. So I appreciate your dialogue on that. The first assignment was on a transformational leader. Now let me talk a little bit about structure first. I think I mentioned this earlier, but every paper that you write in my class needs to have a cover page, it needs to have an introduction, it needs to have body headings, it needs to have a conclusion, and then a reference page if you use outside sources. This is really important because form and flow, I don't want you to think that I'm just all focused on format and not content. Nothing could be further from the truth. However, as a senior manager for a major corporation for many years, I valued form and flow and style, and the reason that I did is because I got so many proposals from many different people that if it just seemed like someone threw up on the page and threw all their data and the requests and facts on a page, I couldn't follow it, and honestly I didn't have time to follow it, so it would find its way into the trash very quickly. And so what I want to try and get you to do in this class, and in all classes that I teach, is to provide some format with form and flow. Effective introductions are great because they will communicate to the reader the purpose of the paper and what that paper is going to either ask for, inform, suggest, and those types of things. So a really effective introduction is great. Headings in your body will help separate your thoughts so that they're not all jumbled for the reader. And then finally, an effective conclusion is great because that's the last time that you have, or the last point in that paper, to really ram home your thoughts, your requests, your conclusions. And so just make sure for every paper that you write on the assignments outside the course project, because the course project is a formal paper anyway, but just make sure that every assignment that you have follows that cover page, introduction, body headings, conclusion, and then references. But this one was on a transformational leader. And again, I wasn't so much interested in a transformational company as much as I am a transformational leader. And transformational leaders are different in different industries. I mean, you think about many years ago, there was I forgot who the CEO was at Walmart, but what his focus was whenever I was in the grocery business was to develop operational efficiencies. That's when you began to see just-in-time, you began to see continuous replenishment, you got to see vendor-managed inventory, so we actually managed Walmart's inventories for them. And so from that perspective, he was a transformational leader in the area of operations. You think about Jim Simple, who was with Costco as the CEO. He was a transformational leader as it related to human resource practices. And so leaders do different things in different areas. You think about what's his name? Herb Kelleher with Southwest. He was a transformational leader as it related to customer service. And so you don't have to look at these on a macro level. You can look at them on a more micro level to say transformational leaders can focus on specific things, and they typically do based upon the background that they're bringing in. So assignment 1 focused on that. Assignment 2 was the first part of your course project. And in that, you selected a company, you talked about their mission and goals, gave a little bit of an overview, and that will be the first part of your paper. And so you'll have, again, an introduction that'll change over time. Then you do the company overview, mission and goals, and those types of things. I made comments on, or will make comments on your papers in those areas as well. So that's lesson 1 in a nutshell, and I appreciate your focus and attention getting started with that. Now, let's talk for a second about lesson 2, because this is really a continuation of strategy. The first discussion question that's there's only one, but the discussion question really talks about the role of competitive intelligence gathering, if you will. One of the things that we had at ConAgra was we had competitive war rooms where we would have people assigned as if they were leading different members of our competitive companies. And so they focused and got to know them chapter and verse. And so it's very important in organizations today to know as much about their competition as their competition knows about them. And so, but some of the competitive gathering mechanisms have really come under scrutiny recently as you question the legality of them, particularly in an electronic, internet-driven world. And so that's going to be an interesting, hopefully very vibrant discussion as it relates to competitive intelligence. The second question is really also talks about analysis, but it talks about analysis strategies that you will find like Porter's Four Corners analysis and some of the others. Those are really, really important. They may sound pretty dull and boring, but once you get into senior levels of business, you need some sort of format or strategy to begin to look at external analysis, internal analysis of your company in order to develop strategy. Because one of the fallacies and one of the faults that I think many companies have today, and some that I've consulted with, is that they're in such a hurry to go through things that they don't do an effective analysis out front. They always want to put together, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Versus taking the time to analyze what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, what are our external opportunities, what are our external threats in the SWOT analysis or in some of these analytical intelligence models that you're going to review this week. So make sure that you focus on them, but even more importantly, when you get into senior levels of management, I hope you remember these, because all of these, some you'll like more than others, all of these, though, are effective ways to analyze competitors, analyze yourself in the marketplace, and are key areas and key foundational pieces of strategy. And then moving on to the next portion of your course project, you're going to have the marketing portion. And for many of you, I hope you remember, because I think I'm really the only one that teaches the marketing class around here, I hope you remember the 4 P's of marketing: price, promotion, product, and place. And it's really important for you, if you were building a training program for future general managers, for them to understand the key elements of how this organization approaches the consumer from the 4P perspective. Now remember, on product, that could be product or service. So if you were a service-based company versus somebody who actually manufactures and sells a tangible product, you can use those interchangeably. So I'll be interested to see if you all remember anything from the marketing classes a few times ago. If not, you'll be able to do some searches and find out a lot of information on the 4 Ps. That's one of the key things that you'll need to be doing in these in your course project. Is some of it's not going to be in the strategy book that you have, the strategy textbook, and so you're going to need to do outside research to find some components in that. So hope you had a great first week. I hope this lesson 2 preview helps you out a little bit and gives you an idea of where to go forward. I'm actually still at home in Seattle this week, but I'm going to hit the road next week. So I'll chat with you at the end of next week, and who knows where I'll be. But in the meantime, if you need me, make sure you give me a call or send me an email. Have a great week.